Hello and welcome back to lesson number 2 in the financial unit. So today we're looking at rounding, and specifically we're looking at rounding in terms of money. So before, this wasn't really a large issue because we really didn't have any need to round, but now in Canada, since there's no more penny, very important to know the rounding rules, and they're not they're very similar to what you learned back in elementary school. So I always look at it as a mountain, all right, where 0 and 5 are at either ends of the mountain. So if we think of a mountain climber working their way up the hill, we have a 1 and a 2, and then on the other side of the hill, 3 and 4. What this does is it tells you which way to roll down the hill. Okay? So if you have a 1 or a 2 at the end, you roll back to the 0. If you roll forward, okay, or if you're at a 3, 4, you roll forward and you end in a 5. Okay, and I'm going to show you that in terms of the money context. Now, as a side note, we only round for cash payments. All right, so if you're using your debit card, you will pay the exact amount. Okay, so for example, if you are paying, it comes up on the till, $9.43, that's what you'll pay with your debit card. All right, but if I'm paying cash, all right, if I was to pay cash for this purchase, I would end up having to pay, going back over here again, the 3 is on that side of the hill, so we roll down the hill. It means I'm going to actually pay $9.45. So it's actually more expensive to pay cash because you get rounded up 2 pennies. All right, but that's the new world we're living in here without the penny. All right, so on the next one, I'm just going to do a couple of examples to practice here. So all we're doing is, what will the cash payment be? So again, it's only for cash. If you're using debit card, you just slide the card in, you have to pay the exact amount. With cash, you need to do the rounding. So for example, $1.29. Okay, all our payments in cash end with a 0 or 5. All right, so all cash payments end with 0 or 5. All right, and that's because, again, there's no penny. So $1.29 will become the rounding hill. You look at your last number, okay, it's a 9. So that means we're going to go from 29, we're going to go up to $1.30. Okay, so if I go back to my rounding hill there, I got to add a couple more numbers on there. Or I guess I should just do another hill. All right. Same thing here. This time it's going to be a 5 at the end or a 0. So this is if we have an ending in 6, 7, or 8, 9. So that tells you which way to roll down the hill. So my first example, I ended in a 9, so we had to round up to the nearest 10, or nearest 5, I guess. All right, so $1.29 will become $1.30. If I have $2.56, we're asking ourselves, what is it closest to? So our choices are $2.55, so $2.55, or $2.60. So the 56 is definitely more closer to the $2.55. So in this case, it would be rounded down, and you'd pay $2.55 in cash. All right. What about $10.84? So again, we look at the last digit. It's a 4. So another way to look at it, what's closest? 80, 85, or 90? So which one is closest? And we see that 84 is definitely closer to the 85. So that means we'd end up paying $10.85. All right, so you can see that each of our payments ends in a 0 or a 5. So you're rounding to the nearest 5 when we are paying cash. Again, if it's debit, you're going to pay the exact amount. So I showed you 3 different approaches here. I showed you the general rounding rule with the hill, and you go with the one that makes the most sense. If you have a system that you use, that's the one you end up using. So we're on to a worksheet. Complete the worksheet and then show that to the teacher, and then you can move on to the next task at hand.